And we have a very, very special treat for you. I don't think you've ever heard this young lady speak before, but she's coming to testify of what the Lord has done for her. And so at this time, I'm going to ask my dear friend Peter Alexander if he would come and introduce her.
Mary Mayo is a young lady, and we've known her since she was 3 years old. Her mom actually works with two of our special needs children, and we've known them for about 15 years now, 14 years or so. And we've gotten to see Mary grow, and she has a story to tell, her own story. And this is a story where the rubber meets the road. Some churches would not care to actually hear this, but it's real. And my wife and I love them very much, her mom and Mary, and we're proud of her. And it's a wonderful thing for me to observe what God is doing in her life in a short amount of time. And she'll share the rest of her story with you.
Yeah.
Well, as Peter said, my name is Mary, and today I'm here to share my testimony and a short sermon about what God has showed me. For the past 5 months, I've been at a home in Nashville, Tennessee called Mercy Multiplied. It is a residential home for women ages 13 to 32 that deal with life-controlling issues such as sexual abuse, sex trafficking, eating disorders, unplanned pregnancy, depression, anxiety, self-harm, and all kinds of addictions. While at Mercy, I've accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior and forgiven my dad and identified certain struggles I have and ways to deal with them. Mercy was my last resort after dealing with several of these things. I was born October 16, 2003. My mom, Katie, has and is always around. She works extremely hard with her 3 jobs just to make ends meet. My childhood is pretty good. I started kindergarten when I was 4 years old, so I tend to always be the youngest in my grade. I don't remember much of my childhood other than the bad things. Not all the memories I have are bad ones. One good memory I have is when my dad and I were on his scooter driving around the block with me in front of him so I could hold onto the handlebars. My dad only got to know me for 4 years of my life. It all started towards the end of March of 2008. My mom and dad had woken me up to go to my grandparents' house because my cat had died. Once we said our last goodbyes, we went back home. As soon as we got home, my mom and dad both went back to sleep before they had to go to work the next day. Me, being only 4 years old, couldn't go back to sleep once I was up. So I went to the room and asked to have help doing a puzzle. My mom nudged my dad, and he reluctantly got up. He followed me out to the living room, and I got a puzzle off the shelf, and I stood in front of my little table as he sat behind me in my chair. As I was taking pieces out of the box, he then started to what I thought was this game. He would pull my pants down, and I would pull them back up. That went on for a little bit, and I just got tired of this game, and I just left them down. He then proceeded to sexually abuse me and molest me. When I refused to do something he had asked me, I got out of his grip and ran down the hall to tell my mom. I knew something wasn't right about what my dad was doing to me. Once I told my mom, the blood just drained from her face. She got out of bed quickly, but still in shock, and went into the living room where my dad was still sitting. She then started to interrogate him. It's not that she didn't believe me, it's that she didn't want to believe me. My mom highly doubted a 4-year-old could lie about something such as this. My dad finally confessed to my mom after about 30 minutes of arguing. There was then silence. My dad then asked in the midst of the silence, "I'll never see her again, will I?" Soon after, some police officers came and took my dad back to the station to be interrogated. It took him almost 3 hours to admit to sexually abusing me. He got sentenced to 7 years in prison for child molestation. Once my dad had left, I was really confused about what was going on, and I was diagnosed from PTSD from it all, the situation itself, and from going from having a father to not having one. I was then put into counseling later after the abuse to try to find healing and understanding about what happened. My past didn't come back up until I got a little older and was able to understand more about what happened to me. In middle school, I became very depressed and would put myself down all the time by telling myself I was ugly or fat or stupid or that I couldn't do anything right or that I wasn't loved. I then started to try to find men in the wrong ways in order to feel loved. I felt so much shame and guilt from what I was doing that I grabbed a knife and held it to my wrist in an attempt to cut myself and then stab myself to commit suicide. My mom walked in at the right moment and took the knife away from me and called 911. The cops and an ambulance came, and I was then put into handcuffs in front of me with a bar and a belt. They took me outside, and the cop put me in the back of the patrol car and took me to the hospital. I was admitted into the Christ 6, which is a mental part of the hospital for minors. I was there for 4 days, and I didn't feel any better after I got out. I went throughout my 10th grade year with multiple suicide threats and still seeking love in the wrong ways. I realized I needed to get some help. The counselor I was seeing at the time recommended this residential home for women like me called Mercy Multiplied. In late of March of 2019, while I was still contemplating about going to and applying for Mercy, a very tragic and sad thing happened. I walked into school one morning and it was so quiet. I walked towards the gym to where my first period class was, and I just see all these people crying. I asked one of my friends what was going on, and he told me that 2 of my teammates on my football team, who I looked up to as brothers, Biggs and JB, got shot last night. Biggs was the only one that died, and JB was in critical condition in the hospital. My heart just dropped and I started to cry. It took me many weeks to get over what happened, and I still haven't gotten over it completely. I finally decided to start my application process for Mercy. My mom and I both thought I could really find and receive my true healing and freedom through Christ. I started my application process to Mercy in mid-April, which consisted of lots of paperwork and reading books and over-the-phone interviews. In June, while I was at the beach with my family, my mom received an email from my intake coordinator for Mercy and told my mom to call her as soon as we had a chance. I was in the middle of a bag of Famous Amos chocolate chip cookies when my mom and I grabbed our things and walked back to our beach house to call. Once we called, she said she had some good news for us. There was a pause, and she said, "Congratulations, you've been accepted into Mercy." I honestly was so shocked that I didn't know what to say, but I managed to choke out the word, "okay." Once we hung up, I just began to cry with my arms wrapped around my mom. I walked through the doors of Mercy on July 22nd, 2019 as my last resort in order to find healing and total freedom. On my 6th day at Mercy, on July 28th, I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior. The week after that, during a night of worship, I got down on my knees and forgave my father for what he did to me, but I also forgave myself and repented before God of my sins. My process isn't finished yet, but I already see a change in myself, and I'm being transformed by and through Christ. I am forgiven and I am saved. I am a child of God.